And we are recording. What up, though, people? It is your boy Brandon Dent, aka Detroit Kool-Aid, and we rocking out with the Woodward Pistons podcast. This is everything Jeff Hired Freddie on the Morning Woodward Show. Shout out to him. He's going to come down later and do some content. And shout out for supporting all of the new content that's been coming to the channel. I definitely appreciate you all. But got to get into this drum roll and get right into the content, as Rod would say, bars. So, hey, yo, shout out to the legend, Detroit News, Rod Beard. Brother, how you doing this morning?
Hey, it's a Wednesday. I'm always good. We get to talk some good Piston stuff. What can be better than that?
I love it. I love it. I love it, man. Now, look, we have some unsettled or some unfinished business here. You had a birthday recently. You celebrated it in grand style. But we didn't necessarily get to put, the top being the cherry on top of the cake yet. So we want to be able to do this for you. All right. When do you have some time next week to go out? And you got to let me know which one of these lavish restaurants do you want to go to around Birmingham or Royal Oak or Troy or somewhere like that?
First of all, I appreciate it. First of all, who is the we? Who consists of the we?
Oh, okay. Look, you obviously, me obviously, Jeff.
Okay, we're done. We're done. Wait, how are we gonna work around my schedule when Jeff has to fly back from Europe to join us? Is he joining us virtually for this sit down?
I was just about to get into that. He's stating if his entourage can't also get in, he might just attend virtually, but he is saying he will grace us with his presence.
They got to do a security sweep before we go to the restaurant to make sure that
he has food tasters too. They taste his food before he eats it, man. I mean, listen, like we always say, this is what the Woodward Pistons platform can do for you.
I mean, if Jeff is making time, I will make time. Because I know how his schedule is. So, I mean, yeah, let's go.
Look, no, we got to get Mike in here too, man. He's a part of this platform. We got to get him in.
Now, that is the literal curveball is trying to fit Mike in. Well, you know what? It's All-Star weekend. It's All-Star week. So he may that might
the
actually
perfect time.
This might actually work. Let's look at next week.
Yeah, hey, look, and it's on Woodward Pistons too.
Yep.
It's on us. We want to definitely want to treat you. We appreciate you, Rod. Seriously, on just a serious note, we appreciate you, your work. And it's not just, like we said, with Woodward Pistons. It's who you are throughout the industry. Just talking to different people while I'm out on the beat. And talking to even some of the young guards that are coming up now, like Kool Cahill of Locked On Pistons. He told me that you have been instrumental in just his career, just in his life, and just being able to get those types of reports from other people while I have those same types of reports. It's an awesome thing to see. So I told Kool, I was like, man, feel like we're all amongst friends here, man. We're all disciples of Rod out here. So
we got the Rod coaching tree coming on, Rod writing tree.
That's right.
No,
Jeff claims it. He does claim that at least. So, his entourage at least knows that much, man. They know that much.
No, and it is I won't even say pay it forward. It's really just about I see the passion that you guys have in just wanting to do this, and it's a different fire and a different passion. I just love writing. I love being out on the beat and traveling and being able to ask those questions. You guys breathe this stuff every day, and you're trying to do a podcast, you're trying to do something and talk about it. You're building a community. And I'll say it this way. The beat writers are sort of one sort of side thing over here, but without the community that you guys created to sort of make it a critical mass, it would be really tough for us to do what we do, because we can sort of push things through Twitter, but individuals who consume that is one thing. When you have a Pistons Twitter, when it's a definable group and you say, here's 10 people that I can name in Pistons Twitter, I don't know that there are a lot of other beats and other cities that have that. They have the mass sort of group of people. But if you ask a beat writer from a different city, hey, name me 10 people who kind of are regulars that you would say is in Celtics Twitter, or I don't know, Suns Twitter, anybody, or Thunder Twitter. Beat writers may not be able to tell you a consistent 10, but if I sat down, I could write you out 10 names and say, these are people who live and breathe and talk Pistons all the time.
all the
And
time.
and there's not beef between this group where, oh yeah, I hate Sean Corp, or I whoever. I don't like Keith Trudeau. It's so many connections between these people that even when you look at what James is doing,
Yep.
and James hooked up and they had a podcast. They didn't go and say, let me find a national guy to start a podcast with. They found somebody in Pistons Twitter, literally, James and Omari went and found
Yep.
somebody in Pistons Twitter and said, let's team up and start a podcast. I don't know anybody else that's doing that. That's a testament to what you guys are doing in Pistons Twitter, and people coming up and building with that. I'm always happy to help people and to lend advice and say, hey, here's what I know. Here's what I think you should look at doing. Here's people that I think you should reach out to, because that's how this is going to get better. When we talk about who are the beat writers down the road, who are the people who can really make a dent in this industry, and you're doing it with Woodward Pistons now, you need help. You need people to build off of. And there's a lot of animosity between beat writers and sort of the internet people and the bloggers in other areas. We don't really have that. I haven't seen that. I haven't noticed that, where people have said, "Oh, forget them. They don't know what they're talking about."
It's a healthy.
We try to.
Respect,
It's inclusive.
man.
It's inclusive. We try to be as inclusive as possible.
Yeah, it's a healthy respect, and beyond that, we were talking about this yesterday on Woodward Pistons with Jeff. It's really it's like you said, it's a community of things, and it's a fabric that runs through us. I know in a lot of other places it's sports, and sometimes we get mad when people say, sports is the heartbeat of Detroit. When their championship, when their teams are winning, they're up. When their teams are down, they're down. Now we obviously know our economy is not necessarily tied to our sports teams, but we know the spirit of the people. Yeah, we ride and die with our sports teams because of the connectivity that it brings to our people, man. I remember being little, driving through downtown Detroit. My mom worked for HAP, and they were a
Mm-hmm.
sponsor of Red Wings.
Mm-hmm.
And just seeing the sea of people, man, walking to Joe Louis Arena, just a sea of red and white, just coming off the people movers, coming from all over, walking in, going up the big steps and everything. For me personally, it was like shock and awe. It was awesome to see, to go out to the Palace. And after a game, whether they won or lost, bro, this is one thing I kind of hated at the time, but I think it was very unique, and I'm glad I had the experience. But that parking lot being jammed up, man, after
Mm-hmm.
wins, it was crazy, man. You see people just like, yo, we're gonna be here for hours, and they're literally like, we're gonna party over here.
Yeah, party over there. Party over there.
It was awesome community. Like, there were times we'd be there and the players would come out and just be like, yeah. It's just like, yo, this is awesome. And I think that it makes it different when we bring that type of passion to the social media world. It wasn't as if people were trying to be anything. Like, you could feel the authenticity. You can
Right.
feel it from throughout the entire community. And I'm grateful for people like you, for people like James, for people like Omari, even people like Mike Curtis, new in this. He could be focused on just establishing just himself. And
Mm-hmm.
instead he stated it's about this community. And so
Mm-hmm.
it's an awesome thing. And I'm glad that you've been, really a pioneer at making sure people can feel comfortable and can have a way forward in this industry, no matter to what capacity, if they're, within the blog world or within the beat. It's an awesome experience, man. So I appreciate you. I know, went off tangent a little bit, but I wanted to make sure, at least for your birthday, we
went
got
way
you
to the
your
left.
roses, and we made sure we, we honored appropriately. This is the community.
Yeah.
It is. It is. I do want to talk about James Wiseman, man. I think that he is obviously the number one topic on all Detroit Pistons fans' minds right now. People went from, oh, why are they making this trade, to then when the trade got held up, I saw all the social media in the Pistons world switch to, wait, hold on, man. Quit being petty. Let them play. What are y'all doing? You know what I mean? Like, I heard Gary Payton was like sitting behind the Warriors bench while they were holding up the trade and everything. It was just like, I saw fans change to, the initial shot, and Jeff admitted it. We came in here a day after. We were like, okay, all right. The initial shock was who, but now I'm eager and ready to see this thing get underway. And The number one thing that I believe, I'll just, my take, why this trade was made was defense. I
Hmm.
believe that there's a lot that James Wiseman can add offensively, but defensively is where this team has absolutely gotten pummeled this year, despite the fact that they've put up pretty decent offensive numbers as a team. Leading the league in what free throw attempts or free throws made, I believe. Both of those, I
Hmm.
think.
Yep.
Their offensive rating is up from last year. They have some really good offensive output. Individually, I looked at the box score every night. I'm like, there's a lot of people scoring over 10 points a game for these Pistons,
Hmm.
but it's not necessarily translating to winnable basketball and down the stretch. Even if they have guys that are scoring, I'm noticing they don't have guys that can stop the other team from scoring. So if we miss one
Yep.
shot, we miss two shots, we miss three shots down the stretch, I'm seeing these leads balloon from like, okay, they cut the lead from 20 to like 8. Then they miss three shots and it's back to like 16 quickly, man. Quickly. So to me, that's what this deal spoke to me, and we'll get into Troy Weaver's comments as well. But I wanted to get your perspective on what the James Wiseman deal spoke directly to you now that it's like officially underway.
It's a kind of consummate Troy deal of a guy that maybe other teams have given up on. And in Golden State's case, it wasn't as much a give up on as it was, well, hey, do we want to pay 30 million in luxury tax for a guy who isn't really in our rotation anyway? Or do we want to sort of move on? And I think that's what took so long to get this, is that for me, it feels like Troy just waited. Okay, I mean, y'all can go into the end of the trade deadline, and what are y'all gonna do? Y'all gonna cut him? Y'all really need to trade him, and we're just gonna sit here and we're gonna wait. We're gonna tap our foot and wait until y'all ready. Okay, now let's put a deal together. And so defensively, when you say the Pistons need help in the middle, that screams to me more Nerlens Noel than it does James Wiseman, because we've seen the deficiencies that Wiseman has, and sometimes where he's just giving up and not even really trying. It doesn't look like from the film. Um, so there probably is a defensive component too, but it really it screams just what you said. And I didn't even think of this in these terms. If you're going to compete in the East, you need bigs.
Yeah.
Period. Because Embiid is not like Harden, where he's going to get tossed around and passed around from team to team. Embiid is going to be there. He's the anchor of whatever they have in Philly. Giannis isn't going anywhere. When was the last time the Pistons had somebody who could really, that you said, go guard Giannis, and you felt good about it? Marcus Morris, maybe? I don't know. So in the East, with Mobley at Cleveland, that says to me you need bigs, and
Yeah.
not Isaiah Stewart bigs. You need big bigs. You need actual 7-footers. And I don't want to hear people saying, well, if they go get Vic, then Vic is their center. Vic is not a center. Seriously. Vic, don't tell me Vic is a 7'4" center. Vic is like Dirk Nowitzki at best. He's going to be a 3
Yep.
or a 4.
For
And
for
so
what Stu lacks in the measurables, Vic lacks in what Stu has in that makes up for his lack of it. So yeah, I get it.
So the deal just says to me, you're just taking a gamble on a guy. And if you weren't going to pay Sadiq, and you didn't want to pay him big money, then you had to cut bait at whatever point. And this is truly Troy. We saw it with Luke Kennard.
Yep.
He kind of he just said, I'm not going to mess around and have to pay these guys. So if you get a former number 2 pick out of it, one of these is going to have to pay off. Bagley, Wiseman, one of these former number 2 picks is going to have to pay off and be cash in, and he's going to have to get what he needs out of that.
Yep. And I like his comments here. I want to shout out Keith Langlois, Pistons.com, NBA.com web editor. From February 10th, he had Troy's comments in here. He stated, you really don't know until you pull back the onion, pull back the layers, how it's going to work, how it's going to fit, kind of to back up what you're stating. But you have to be willing to give it a try and come up with schemes and solutions to maximize those guys. And I'm glad that he stated that. I'm really glad that he stated that, because generally when a trade is made, you just kind of fit that guy into your scheme. You're generally trading for a guy that fits into your scheme unless they're just that special of a player. with Wiseman in this trade, these
Mhm.
comments, and based on other things they've stated, you can tell this is about development. It's about assessment. This is about knowing what you have right now so that you go into your most pivotal free agency and draft in a long time. This one is the most important one in a long time. The way that they spend this money and the way they get this draft pick, to me, I think that this is as important as when they traded Chauncey Billups and they had that free agency money and they spent it the wrong way. I don't think that they've had an all season, in my opinion, that is matched up to what this one could mean to their franchise moving forward. And so it's a good thing to know that this team is really, really sinking their teeth into figuring out what they have. With Sadiq Bey, they realized, and we said this in the beginning of the year, Rod, that they were going to have to make decisions. That picking up those
Mhm.
contracts, those options on their contracts, stated that there were decisions to be made, but they were given. Hey, they put Sadiq Bey in every position possible. You know,
Mhm.
bench usage roll up. Put the ball in his hands, put him in a corner where he's catch and shoot. They put him in every position to succeed. It just didn't work. It just didn't work. But they made the decision, and I know that obviously decisions are going to have to be made with Isaiah and Killian. But in all of the comments, Troy Weaver's continued to state, he's adding Wiseman to Marvin Bagley, Isaiah Stewart, and Jalen Duren because we need bigs, we need size, and that was
Mhm.
the theme of. I know a lot of the reports is 7-footers, 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 and we see it with Cleveland. Uh, Jeff got a little pissed yesterday because people liking this deal. Some people liking this deal to Greg Monroe and Andre Drummond all over again. Where in reality, we just got power washed by Cleveland Cavaliers who got Evan Mobley and Jared Allen.
Mhm.
And if just obviously these guys have a lot of development to do on the Pistons side, but you can kind of see the potential there. And I'm glad, Keith Langlois pointed that out. I pointed that out in an article that I did as well. And I've seen it across kind of the interwebs as well, that maybe this is kind of the thinking. When you see these successful teams, it's exactly as you said, and as I've seen other places as well. And as you're looking at the game, you realize these teams that are winning, they got multiple all-stars and multiple bigs. Even if their other big who's really good is not necessarily an all-star, they got multiple of them. And they're it's not necessary that their bigs are trying to hunt for threes either. Some of them might be okay at it. Like I don't see Evan Mobley necessarily hunting for threes, trying to be a perimeter, player only or exclusively. I see him kind of just playing the game, and if it just so happens to be there, it's there. Something that I do believe long term Isaiah Stewart can become, and he's
Mhm.
shown that he can be that. He has a proficiency to be that. But with Wiseman, I wanted to kind of get to the offensive side of things now. How effective do you believe he will be in that? Is he a guy that you think is every now and then he's going to be okay to kind of hit this outside shot, or is he somebody that the Pistons are going to be relying on to be an outside shooter as well?
I think they're going to figure it out, and it's going to be right now. It feels a lot like Isaiah Stewart that you start to build that skill set and see what he's able to do and how far you can take that out. Stewart, you kind of felt early on because of the size that he just wasn't going to be sustainably a five.
Mhm.
You thought that maybe he could turn into a four, and when you started seeing him shooting threes in practice, it's like, yeah, okay, yeah, we see where this is going. So I think Wiseman can be the same sort of thing, but you've got to be just one more point on the defensive thing.
No, yeah,
You
definitely.
you can't even compete in your division because of Brook Lopez, because of Vooch,
Yeah.
because of the pair we mentioned in Cleveland. You're not even competing in your division right now because you can't have a big that just can muscle with another big. And you need two of them because we've seen the injury history of, okay, well, we got three bigs. Well, do you have three healthy bigs, though? How much have we seen Bagley this year? How much has Nerlens really been able to contribute? Do you really have four bigs that you're complaining about? This is really copy paste. It's the same thing we've said all season. This is about accumulating and gathering talent, and then you just kind of pick out what you want at the end of the day. And when free agency comes, are you worried about a center? Probably not, because you think two of these four are going to pan out.
Hmm.
But you just want to accumulate as much as you can to make the right decisions. And this is a calculated risk that if you had Sadiq and you had Kevin Knox and you weren't going to pay Sadiq, if you've decided you're not going to pay Sadiq, then what did you give up? What did you really give up? If the market was low and people weren't going to give up a lot for him, you can take a blind shot at Wiseman. I don't see what the big issue with it is.
Mm-hmm.
If you were going to go if you told me you were trying to put something together for John Collins and you were having to pay, what does he make? 20 something?
Mm-hmm.
I'd be more angry at going to get John Collins than I would about Wiseman. So
I definitely would. I understand. I'm hoping people can understand leading into this offseason, they've already kind of tipped their cap that, hey, we're getting busy this offseason. You know, the Bojan Bogdanovic Hoops Hype article was very, very telling. So we don't know what they're going to do. We just know they got the money. We know that they have the assets. We know that with this trade, I personally believe that they improved asset-wise come draft time. If Wiseman shows any pulse, he's going to be able to fetch more than Sadiq Bey was able to fetch at this deadline. Period.
Just
I'm just saying, like, that's been on my mind. Like, if they show any pulse, man, any pulse. And for the Sadiq Bey thing, if he wasn't traded for the number 2 pick in his draft class, you know what I mean? Like, that's a wash at best. Like, it's not like he went and bailed. He's saying, hey, we're going from one rookie contract to another rookie contract. Only this guy was rated higher. This guy has the potential to be able to give us a little bit more offensively and defensively if it works out. This guy, if we had the opportunity to trade up for the number 2 pick, probably would have traded up for the number 2 pick. You know what I'm saying? Like, these are things we would have done. And we've gotten our full look at Sadiq Bey. We've put him in his best case scenarios. Yep. And realistically, it came down to the same thing that I believe it came down to with Jeremy Grant. Sadiq Bey, I believe, is going to be a fine player because we understand his mentality. We know his work ethic. But he needed better. He needed a more mature, a better team around him to flourish. He's a complementary piece, and he fits in very, very well when there are, when the team knows what it's doing. And I believe that if Cade was here, it makes a little bit of a difference in terms of how he looks, a little bit. But ultimately, I believe, it was the best by Sadiq Bey to kind of get him into a situation where he could kind of flourish with a team that probably has a little bit more meat on the bones right now. And if you're not going to pay him and wait for him to be able to flourish, you got to, like you said, make that decision. And don't wait around, man. We've seen teams kind of wait around, mess things up. Previous Pistons teams, man, wound up paying those guys. You know what I mean? Previous teams, that's what I'm saying. For all the people that are like, oh, why did we trade Sadiq? How many people were upset at each contract that Andre Drummond got?
Every.
Like, come on.
Why we got to give him a rookie deal? Because he's a rookie. That's how this works.
I remember saying, like, we got to give him the deal. Like, I remember being one of those guys, like, we got to sign him to the next deal. Then we got roped in. Then when it was time for max time, I was like,
and you're stuck.
We have to sign him.
And you're stuck. You have no recourse. He didn't go in there and demand a max contract, or even if he did, what are you going to do? Not pay him a max contract? And he walks? You learn that from the Monroe deal. So let me ask you this then. And you might know this offhand. How many games has James Wiseman played in his career?
Was it like 60?
60. On the nose, 60. If we're saying Killian needs time so we can see what's up, Killian has played 54 games this season. Killian's played almost more games this season than James Wiseman has in his career. And if we're
still need more games, huh?
Right, but if we're going to give Killian that, and not everybody is recognizing not everybody's going to give Killian that extra kind of leverage. This man has played 60 games, and we're talking about making judgments on what he is or isn't in 60. He hasn't even played a full season. He's barely gotten to an all-star break in his rookie year when you combine it all. Mm-hmm. And if you're going to tell me the injuries say that he's not going to be available, I can listen to it for a 7-footer. You always get concerned about 7-footers with injuries, but Is it a worthy gamble? And if your team is 15-50 or whatever the record
Yeah.
is that something you need to be trying to do? Is take gambles? Absolutely. And this is why you trust in Troy because he has a plan. Because if he was going out and doing wild stuff that you couldn't predict, like what is this? He's going to get bigs. He's not signing a guy that he doesn't think is going to fit long term and overpaying for him. And
Yeah.
he's doing a reclamation project. That's completely Troy. If he was going off the rails and just like you had no clue, this is completely out of character for him. I could see people being mad. This is your GM and this is what he does.
Yep.
And you just got to live with it. There's no complaining. There's no suggestion box that you can throw stuff into and say, Troy, stop doing this. No, that's what he does. That is him.
Yep. And I love the fact that he has tiers to this thing. And I saw some comments about, hey, it seems like Troy has this kind of hitch about him where he's picking up reclamation projects. And it's like, well, a lot of people don't understand. You do that on the bottom end. Instead of going out there and just signing guys like SVG did, like Marcus Morris and all those guys, like trading or signing for those types of guys, well, he's deciding to just trade or sign younger players, controllable players who, if if they work out, you got an opportunity to get them on a much better deal than if you had drafted them originally. Those are flyers you have to take. I remember when Markelle Fultz and some of these guys were just out there and we were hoping, man, just please take a flyer on them. And the Pistons never really did things like that. This GM is coming in and doing things like we see successful teams and successful GMs do. And I get it. It's going to take some time for our eyes to adjust, but the man is cooking. It's not like he's sacrificing anything. People are sitting here crying about Sadiq Bey to a degree, and it's just like, guys, he added Bojan and Alec Burks. We said he does not wait around. He will sign or draft somebody. This is what we've been saying. Look, he got Killian Hayes. They said instantly, well, look, there's going to be a little bit of some time, a little bit of some development that's going to have to go into play here. And then what they do the next year, we said it, man, they went and got Cade. Then when they realized, okay, well, we got our starting guard. We don't know if we got the starting backcourt. They went and got another guard. When initially Killian and Cade were supposed to be the starting guard. Now people are saying what? Cade and Ivy. You want a GM who's not going to rest on his laurels. You want a GM who, if no one's going to be perfect, is going to be able to go out there and try to flip tricks, not just one way. We've seen Dumars. He was a one-way type of guy. SVG, one-way type of guy. We've seen all of these GMs come through here, and they're like stuck in their ways. Whereas Troy seems to have multiple fires going. It's like, bro, you don't even need 3 fires going, but awesome. He got this over here where he's working with reclamation projects. This over here is where he's working with his own drafted players. This over here where he's working with the coveted players that he just wants on his team. Like, I want Jeremy Grant. I'm going to turn him into what's up, Lucas? Hey, man, Lucas. Pause real quick. Lucas, man, he's awesome. He's come in, transform socials, reels, all that stuff. You're going to like the stuff he's doing for us with Woodward Pistons. It's going to be dope. But yeah, he's come in and transformed this thing. Troy and Lucas. We like them both.
And here's the other thing too, is there's always this kind of thing that he's flipping, and he's never on this everybody is here to stay and we're just going to grow this roster and just keep watering this roster. Every time he gets to a point where, okay, this one is full grown. When you go out and tend a garden, everything doesn't ripen at the same time. You got to go out like every couple of days or every day and check on stuff. Something is ripe, you pull it off. Something is bad, you pull it off to give room for the new stuff to grow. He's tinkered with his roster the same sort of way, is to say, hey, here's something that got Jeremy Grant. It got ripe a whole lot faster than I thought. You know what? Let me flip this and move and bring in something else. Bring in a draft pick to get a younger guy who's going to develop a little bit more slowly.
Mm-hmm.
Bojan was kind
of a little bit more slowly.
Yeah, Bojan was kind of a, hey, let's see where this goes. This could be a real asset to help the team, or this could be another piece that we could flip because the contract is ripe and it is coveted. Okay. Josh Jackson, Trey Lyles, you can go down the list of people that he flipped into something else while also maintaining and nurturing the main part of what he's talking about.
Mhm.
So the point that you're making is real, is that it's not just this static roster with 2 or 3 guys. And even when it was, hey, here's the core 4 and Sadiq, hey, this ain't gonna work. This from the beginning of this season to now, we would have said Sadiq is an untouchable outside of Cade on that next tier of untouchable.
Every other GM before Troy would have said the same thing. Why wouldn't they have? We've seen this. GM
And
after GM, and it's not a bad thing necessarily unless they make the bad decision, but you're right. We've seen this.
but it is, I'm going to, I have standards and I have a bar that I want him to reach. And if he's not going to reach that bar by the end of the season, then he is what he is. He's still going to be a fine player. It's not he's a bad seed and we're trying to get rid of him.
I think this was tough for Troy, just like the Jeremy Grant one.
Yeah, he's a good kid, but here's the business of it, and we got a roster we got to cultivate. And this just doesn't fit. The Boyan fit is, answer this for me. Is there a world where they would have traded Boyan and Sadiq? Or was it truly an either or?
Man, that's actually a really good question. I see Troy. I don't see any true golden calves beyond Cade, Jalen, and Jaden. Personally, I could see there being a world where he would have traded Bojan, but I feel like Sadiq's was more his fit with the team, his skill set. That's just to me. But what's your take on it?
I couldn't have seen him trading both. I think it really was an either or. And if you didn't like the Boyan deals that were on the table, and this was the best deal that you saw, then you're keeping Boyan. And if Boyan is everything that you wanted him to be, and the leader and the scorer and the that really he's going to fit long term, you weren't trading Boyan. So all of this stuff that we heard from the outside about Boyan's going to the Lakers, Boyan's going to the Knicks, he's in a John Collins deal.
No. From that perspective, 100%. Yeah. From that perspective, no. At this deadline, no. Like if there was like a crazy deal that fit what Troy wanted, it was I was saying if someone showed up with 2 first-round picks, he's gonna have to reluctantly let go. But in terms of did Bojan feel the need? Well, yeah, we kept coming on this show week after week after week saying, yeah, Bojan is kind of taking Sadiq's spot right now. He's doing the things that we want him to do in this offense next to a Cade type of a player.
Right. So it is, and this is a rhetorical, and maybe Troy will never answer this. But if there were good deals for both Sadiq and Bojan, would he have dealt both of them and then just started Livers or whoever they brought back in a Bojan deal?
I don't. Oh man, that is a great hypothetical. The more I think about it, Bojan's skill set next to Cade, I think is what's necessary. You need that instant offense. There's not too many guys in the league that have that. I don't think people understand. He's not a superstar. But how many people in the league do you know it's just literally add water and stir? Like not even put it in a microwave. He's that put the water in the oatmeal and it just it's done. I don't know. Have you seen that new oatmeal they got now? You just put the water in there and you just let it sit.
Just
that's Bojan. You don't even need the microwave with him, man. He is the microwave effectively. I love that skill set next to Cade Cunningham, who some people say traditionally might start a game slow, might start off looking to facilitate and pass and this and that. And so, yeah, I want a guy who, if he's going to pass it, we got a little frustrated seeing bricks with Bojan and Alec Burks. Those are going to be more makes than misses, And so it's like from that perspective, who are you trading for that's going to come in and realistically have the effect that he can have on this team, and especially for guys like Cade and Jaden?
So if you're trading Bojan for 2 first-round picks, aren't you setting this thing further back?
Yeah.
So if that's the case,
yeah.
The other thing that we're saying is it's easier to go out and get, if you've decided Bojan is staying and he is a centerpiece for what you're doing to go with Cade, then that makes Sadiq a reserve wing forward.
Yeah. You
In
can't pay
this,
him what he's going to command
you
as
can't
a
you
reserve one.
can't pay him that. And in this NBA, is it easier to go get a reserve wing forward, or is it easier to go and get a reserve center that James Wiseman could be, or a starting center? We assume that Duren is going to be your starting center moving forward.
Mhm.
But is it easier for Boyan to guard threes or fours? Maybe we're moving Boyan to the three, and now we're going with two bigs in whatever variation that is. So for people who are saying dealing Sadiq was a mistake, they've decided he's a reserve player at best. We're not going to pay him. Let's get the most that we can, because from this point forward, this is the sell high moment. And if our selling high means getting Wiseman for it, and backup centers are harder to get than backup forwards, then you sold high, you got the better player long term, and you didn't break up the center that you have, the
Yeah,
nucleus of the
that
roster
core
that you have.
nucleus.
So for as many people who want to say this trade is a net negative, I'm gonna tell you this trade is a net positive, and you probably got the best that you could out of it if that's what you decided about Sadiq. And
Yeah.
we don't know that. We can only guess that from what this trade does, but that's where we are. And so people who want to pile on, I've had it with Troy. What has he done? What trades? It,
Hey, I got a trade. I got a trade that never was. That kind of reminds me of this one, and I'm glad this one went through. How many people saw Bol this year? And I've heard the comments. I've read the comments, and everybody's like, "Oh man, why didn't we get Bol? Why didn't we sign him?" Troy, I'm just like, "Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa!" Troy tried to trade for him last year, and that trade got nixed. And a lot of the same question marks were facing a Bol that faced Wiseman in terms of his health. You know, these 7-footers don't work out. He's kind of
mm-hmm,
thin. Yada yada yada. What position is he going to play? Is he this any other? Those questions are not there this year. You know, if and it's interesting because Troy talked about wanting those types of guys, saying, hey, look, we need more of those types of guys. And so people want to talk about Troy. I like just like Bojan, there's not a lot of instant offense guys, regardless of if you're an all-star or not or a superstar or not. There's not a lot of guys that have the potential that Wiseman has, that Bol possesses. There's not. It's the reason why OKC probably said, you know what, we got to take this flyer on Chet. You know, these are the reasons why you do these things. There's not too many people in the league that have those skill sets. And if some of those guys turn into stars and all stars, and some of those guys are really, really, really good players for a very long time. For a very long time. It's just like, you know what? You gotta take your shot. This is a former number 2 overall pick. He had the talent, he had the scouting. You know, the people were saying what they were saying. I'm not saying that it's always perfect, but you've seen the flashes. This isn't a
mm-hmm.
situation of Darko where you've never seen this individual play against, NBA talent. You've never seen this individual play against any aspect of pro am or college talent or G League or anything. We've seen him. It's just, hey, can he stay healthy and can they put him in his best possible position to succeed? And that's where Casey stated, we'll see. Casey said everyone says he can as it relates to his offensive prowess and his threes and such. He said he got to talk to Steve Kerr. Now Steve Kerr
Mm-hmm.
said he's making these threes in practice. And Coach Casey said, we'll have the opportunity. We're going to be creative in terms of his overall offensive game, and that they're not going to put him in a box.
Yeah.
I absolutely like that aspect of it. See what you have here. Don't sit here and overthink things. Because the way the offense runs right now, it's not even the way the offense is going to run next year. When K gets back, things change.
But see, here's the other thing too, is people want to make this, well, Sadiq got traded for 4 second-round picks. And so Troy blew it because they sold low. He's worth 4 second-round picks to Golden State because Golden State couldn't take in any salary because they're trying to get out of luxury tax. And so that's something that I saw a lot on Twitter too, is he could have had 2 first-round picks or whatever it was for Sadiq last year, and now Sadiq's worth 4 second-round picks, worth 4 to Golden State in the situation. This is completely a situational deal that they needed to get off Wiseman. So why couldn't they go and get Kuminga or Moses Moody or whatever? I mean, that kind of is what it is. I was surprised that there weren't other pieces in it. I thought Sadiq's value was a little bit higher, but that tells you what Sadiq's value is that there weren't other teams that were going to give you more. And if there were, then Troy would have found him. So there's a lot that's going on there. And I just want people to kind of think through that and to see this isn't about Troy making bad deals. This is actually him trying to make the best deal that he could, given the circumstances, and given that Golden State was giving up on Wiseman and trying to get off that money. That's just all you can hope for in that case.
Yep. And honestly, it seemed to be the best case scenario. Just to make sure that people understand what Troy said. And again, I'm going to credit Keith Langlois because we're going through his article today as it relates to the Wiseman trade. And next, I'm going to be talking to Mike as well because I have him. I'm going to go through one of his articles next week. It was some interesting things that he had to say about this. But Troy said when he became available, that kind of changed things for me, Weaver said. So instantly, we see this was no longer about, well, yeah, no, I can get this or get that. No, what I see here as a talent evaluator, as the GM, as the person constructing this team and doing a restoration, I see something here that I got to. It's just it won't let me sleep. You know, and I like that. I like that he's sure of this thing, that he's like, no, I got to. His quote further goes, just being able to add this kind of talent with this kind of size, we think we can unlock him here. It's like I told him, we try to create an environment where players can come here and be the best version of themselves. We want James to come here and excel, unpack his bags and go to work. And, you know, the reason why I'm grateful for that, and he said that he was excited, James Wiseman, he's excited for the opportunity, is because we've seen it work. Despite the fact that some of these players haven't reached the pinnacles of the levels that we probably wanted them to, I do believe that Killian Hayes in a previous regime, underneath previous regimes, bro, no, it would have been, it would have been donezo. It would have been nothing. We've seen this happen over and over and over again. I believe that Sekou would have been in a completely different position if he was drafted underneath Troy versus what he was kind of drafted into. And it's neither here nor there. I think it was like a archaic way of GMing teams, you know. But when you look at Sadiq Bey, he came in with a reputation of 3-point shooter who could potentially become a 3-and-D guy. That's what guys said. He looks a lot more versatile, and they worked with him at that. He became a versatile player who could play inside, outside, get to the free throw line. That wasn't what he was beforehand. You know, when I look at even like what they're doing with Jalen Duren, what I look at with Cade Cunningham, breaking the mold down. Hey, you know what? Go and attack that mid-range. Most coaches will come in and put him in a completely different, spot. So it's just like I see where these guys, they have a vision, they have an outlook. You can see that some of it's working. I believe that they need more highly talented players because you see with Cade, Ivy, and Duren, the guys that are getting picked in the lottery, those guys are showing that they can do what the team is putting in front of them and excel at more. Whereas guys like Sadiq, Killian, and Isaiah, they are starting to achieve, but they're not necessarily able to achieve at that star potential level that we see Cade, Ivy, and Duren, and that's okay.
Right.
That's okay.
Right. You're not going to hit on 100% of them, but it's not a 0% either.
No. And that's what I'm saying. Like sometimes people, I think that we, especially with this team, we are able to vacuum it so much. We put things into a vacuum. We want to be mad about individual things just because they've been down for so long. And our last 3 playoff appearances have been sweeps. You know, but in reality, this team is in a decent position. The roster construction, though you might not like what the roster looks like right now, come on, guys. We've seen Troy Weaver go out there every single year and add, 5, 6, 7 new players a year. And not just new players. I'm talking about splashes. Was Jeremy Grant a splash? Was Bojan a splash?
Okay.
Huh? Upgrades.
It's upgrades, and given what you have to work with, the financial situation that he inherited, the roster that he inherited, sometimes it takes you a really long time to craft a roster the way you want it. And he did it. He did a lot of the heavy lifting that first year. But now to tinker, I think you got a lot of the pieces in place, but now you just got to tinker here and there to, let me find a little bit of an upgrade here. Let me see what's available.
Yeah.
And if you're not drafting a lot of those players, it's going to take more time. And it's miss me with the he has his teams have 39 wins over the last 3. Miss me with that.
Dude, those stats are killing me. The KC stats, I'm like, stop.
Troy
Stop.
Weaver's teams have won 30, 40 games in 3 seasons. What has he done? If you're paying attention to the win-loss record and you're using it any kind of barometer of anything, miss me with that. It means absolutely nothing. Nothing at all. You are not getting any prizes for last place. Any prize. You're actually getting better picks, which gives you a chance to get better players. If they end up with Vic after this, and you want to run out here's their win-loss record under Troy, they got Vic, Cade, Ivy, Duren, and everything is looking up, and you're mad because you went to a game and they lost the game that you went to and sat in the nosebleed seats. Miss me.
Right.
Miss me with all of that.
Hold on, bro. We will say Vic and Scoot right now just because that's the media cycle. We get that. You already know. No matter where they land in that top 5, the player, they're going to go crazy for it. We saw what happened with Ivy. We saw what happened with Kate. We saw what happened with Killian. You think about this. When we get around draft time, not right now while people are in their fields. When we get around draft time and they're like Brandon Miller, the Thompson twins, think about that. What are people going to start saying then? Oh, my God. Oh, man, yo, you're going to be a dope piece to add to Cade and Ivy and Duren and this. And then Troy Weaver went out here and flipped a couple tricks. And then he added a split, went out and signed somebody for 36. What if, man, this is my hypothetical question. What if Troy's like, I got the bag. I'm just going to any superstar that's available. I don't care what position they play, man. Here, what do you want? What if he literally was just like, what do you want? I will give it to you. Even if it's a bad Miggy deal on the back end of it. Does it even matter right now? Like, seriously, for this squad, for this team, we thought that deal would be untradeable for OKC. I don't believe it matters. My hopeless dream, man, is that he just goes out there and anybody that's considered like a star in this league that's available, just throw it to him. Just.
But that is, people are just like angry, like high school teenager angry about nothing. They're looking for something to be angry about. Just chill.
Cleveland went from what seemingly was bad to instantly whoosh. And you know what they did? They acquired talent through the draft. They acquired some talent through some trades and some free agencies. And then you know what their GM started to do? Tinker.
But they traded Colin Sexton, though. They weren't supposed to trade him because you can't trade talent because that's going to mess everything up.
Then they traded for Jared Allen while they had a center here. I can't remember the center's name. Why is this blanking me, man? They had 2 centers at the time, and everyone's like, they're crazy. And then they went and drafted Evan Mobley. Like, think about the types of tinkering they've done. And then it's
the same sort of deal.
They were the
same sort of deal.
Yeah, they were going from 20s, 30 wins every year. The Pistons were doing better than them. And then they made the trade for Jared Allen. They did some other stuff. They went to 6th place. And then they got Evan Mobley, and it was just kind of, that's it. That's it. So it's just it changed quickly for Cleveland, bro. Just because they had the right foundation, the right GM, who knew how to tinker the right ways, and then he was able to go at the end of that deal and go and get his superstar in Donovan Mitchell.
It's just timing. But how do you go get Donovan Mitchell? You need other pieces. You need assets to go get a Donovan Mitchell. So what is Troy building up? Assets. Stop it,
it's gonna be a fun
people.
Off season, bro.
Stop it, people. Just trust Troy. It's not like he doesn't know what he's doing. He is well respected around the league.
Don't tell people that. That doesn't matter to them.
But I'm saying,
I get it, but
there are plenty of people around the league that when trade deadline time comes, their phones are ringing off the hook, not because they have super talent that it's because they as GMs are bad. And people knew. People would always say, if you want to make a good deal, call Vlade. Scouts would tell me this. People would tell me this. Call Vlade when you need to make a deal because you might be able to win. So tell me a deal that somebody has fleeced Troy on. Fleeced. Does not exist. Does not exist. So if he's winning or coming out about even on most of these deals, all of these alleged bad trades, how much money were you really going to pay Bruce Brown? Were you going to pay him 20, 18, 14 to keep him? Let me do this quick.
Were you gonna give Luke Kennard that the bag that the Clippers did? They had buyer's remorse, clearly.
What is Bruce Brown making now? Because I would guess you would have had to have paid him 10, 12, 14. Bruce is making 6.5.
But the you're right though. The conversation around that time when people were talking about that was like he might command somewhere between like 6 and 12 just based on what 6 and 10, 6 and 12 based on what the market was putting up. And I do believe that I do believe that there were some teams that could have been desperate enough, but because the market was the way it kind of went, kind of lowered his value in that open market when he got his deal. But I don't know, like what exactly is he doing today that people at that time believed he was going to be so much greater than. You know what I mean? Like I remember that when Troy came in and he assessed the talent, and whether it's his own drafted talent or whether it was someone else's drafted talent, I'm glad that he knows when it is time to cut bait. This is all about that's about investment. Sometimes you're getting a draft pick. What are you going to get from that draft pick? Nothing or something.
But sometimes it's not about the pick either. It is about ducking that bullet of not having to pay these guys at this time because they're not in that category. And Luke is a good complementary player for the Clippers, but is he going to be that star player for the Pistons?
And they give him 64 mil.
Yeah, we'll see what he's able to do in Memphis because I like that fit that they got some 3-point shooting there. But this league really is about that same player is going to get paid by somebody, but who's going to do the paying? And where does he end up being the best self that he is? Luke was really good with the Clippers. I think he'll be really good with Memphis. Was he going to be that good in the fit with the Pistons? Probably not, because they would have needed him to do significantly more. He was going to have to start if he was going to make that kind of money. He was
handling the rock a lot more here too.
So that's a different fit. Love Luke as a player. Love Marcus Morris as a player. All those guys that ended up with the Clippers, that was what the Clippers needed at that time. But you know what? They surrounded them with Kawhi and with PG. That kind of evolution wasn't happening here. So you can't pay those guys what they ended up getting paid if they're not going to be that same thing for you. So it's people don't get this league, and you have to have those centerpieces before you can build around them. And if you were going to say Luke was going to be a centerpiece and you had to pay him that way, I don't know how that ends up. I don't. And Bruce Brown and everybody else, all of the trades that Troy made when he came in the door, did he lose any of those trades? I'm going to say no.
Not at all. And I think that he has found a way to continue to get value, or at least kick the can of value down the road.
Yep.
So instead of losing somebody, let me swap this person out for another. Luke Kennard, Bruce Brown, Sadiq Bey. I enter Sadiq Bey, Isaiah Stewart. I'm not just letting Sadiq Bey walk for nothing, and I'm not going to be goaded into just paying him something that I don't believe is necessary for our team to win. So I'm going to get something else. Now, James Wiseman. I don't believe he's going to stop until that initial pick turns into something, or you know what I mean, or he gets some supreme value. That's what he's doing. James Wiseman will either turn into the player he thinks, or he will wind up getting some aspect of value for him as well.
Mhm.
down the road. I truly believe that because that's the track record that he's shown and set forth. As long as he continues to do that, then this is the guy that you want taking the risks.
Mhm.
How many GMs out there do you want really taking a risk? Because they've shown that they're just bad. But Troy Weaver's shown I can get into this, I can get out of this. Wow,
Mhm.
I'm not even disturbing the core of the team. I upgraded that. What was the first core for? You wanna do this competition? Here's a hypothetical. People always do this. Pick your team A or team B. Troy Weaver's first core four versus his current core four. Did he upgrade? Did he get better? Did he just say no? These are my golden calves. This first core four. Which team you think is winning? Duren, Ivy, Cade, and just throw anybody else in. Which one? Livers? You can just pick anybody now. Pick anybody for the fourth person. Wiseman now? Anybody. It doesn't matter. Think about how quickly he did this, bro. The first core four was Killian, Sadiq, Isaiah, and Cade. Previous Pistons teams, I'm gonna keep saying this, would have rolled that out for years, bro. For multiple contracts.
Was it even Cade or was it Saban?
Oh, the Saban. You're right. You're right. It was Saban. It was Saban. Goodness gracious. Saban Lee. You're right.
So
K came in and messed everything up the next year.
but to your point, he pivoted every time and said, "Here's another piece. Here's another piece. I'm not focused on this. Let me do something else."
And their upgrades, not like, oh no, look at this, guys. Look at this. I just got Chris Webber. But he's old now. You know what I mean? It's like he's actually going and upgrading. It's not like, okay, let me just do this lateral move right quick. He's upgrading, he's getting better. It's like, guys, I get there's a lot of people who probably tuned out of Pistons basketball for a long time. And when you tune out of your home team, we generally tune out of the things that are going on in the front office on the day to day. Like you stated, Pistons Twitter is tuned in. So it's like, yeah, even if we don't agree with all the moves that Troy Weaver's making, we know that he is a tremendously more skilled GM than some of the ones we've had in the past. And we can appreciate the fact that sometimes with his deals, we just have to let these things play themselves out. I look
Yeah.
at Troy Weaver as a 5-year window, period. If at the end of 5 years, you cannot see that this restoration, like you can't get in that car and drive around the block, even if you don't got your rims, your custom order rims are on back order, but they're on the way. Your windshield wipers, they're on the way because you want to get some special ones with little chrome on there and all of that. You want to get the special chrome accents for your grill and all that, but you can get in the car and drive it at the end of 5 years. That's where I'm going to say Troy Weaver has done his job or Troy Weaver has failed. I believe that this team is going to be in a great position by at the end of this offseason. I believe that they're going to be in a really, really good position where we're going to be able to see, okay, this is the team. I that's just where I'm at with this. And I
So
how do you
what did he tell you in the beginning when he said where restore came from?
Mhm.
His dad was restoring old cars. And does that happen? To your point, this is the point that you're making, but I'm bringing it back full circle to what Troy said in the
Hey,
beginning.
summarize it. This we can close on this one.
You're restoring an old car. You have to get a specific windshield wiper. You can't
Mm.
go to
Mm.
Murray's and get a windshield wiper. For this car, you need a specific part
AutoZone can't help me,
that
huh?
fits nothing. The dude at AutoZone doesn't even know what you're talking about.
Bro, I might have to go to a junkyard and look through it.
But there's very specific things that you need for a restoration. And if you go and get some things and this part doesn't fit or it doesn't look right, you need another part. But you need a specific part to make this car and restore it the way you want to. So it's not going to take a year or two. And with everything we've seen, give me this wrench. Oh, that ain't the right wrench. Give me the 3/4. Give me this bolt. Give me this whatever. Let me try something different. Oh, that's a little bit too small.
Mhm.
That's Troy. That's this restoration. And he told you on day one what it is. There are no surprises here. This man is who he is. And that's all you can ask for in a GM is that they don't do desperate stuff. They're disciplined and they're very concise in what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
He's disciplined in his drafts. He's very specific in stuff that he's looking for in a draft where he can trade up. Every time he trades up in a draft, he gets the guy he wants, or trades into a draft. He gets a guy that helps. So if you can't trust that, I don't know what to tell you. I was going to say something.
We'll leave it closer.
I was going to say something else. If you can't trust that, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. Listen, this was a great conversation.
Yeah, it always is.
And I'm hoping to, I'm hoping the people, they whether you're comfortable with the Wiseman trade or not, I hope you understand it at least a little bit more. And I'm glad you added some good pieces on that as well. Some good points that I wasn't even thinking about as well. And I've seen some of these other people out there talking about, oh man, it was just a salary dump. It was this, it was that. Hey, listen, strap in and enjoy the ride. This is the appetizer. You might not like everything on the trio, but you know why you get the trio platter? You know why you get the big sampler platter? Because you want to try everything. You don't know yet. You know that people have told you, oh, this is great. It's good. Like Steve Kerr. Yeah, he's good. He's good. Let's try it. Because we know what Sadiq Bey is. We do. We like him. We wish him well. It might not fit for where we're headed. And part of that is because of the great job Troy has done after he drafted Sadiq Bey. Like, man, shucks, Troy. Darn it. You undercut yourself.
You went out and you took you're getting rid of a 15-pointer. I think Sadiq's high was like 17 points per game. And you got us a 22-point a game scorer. Dang you, Troy. Trying to improve and make us better. What are you doing?
Hey, I got the Custom U banner behind me, man. Custom U Health Centers. They're like the Troy Weaver of the medical industry.
This man.
You're gonna love me this week.
This man is out here.
Well, hey, look, you guys, we're gonna bring this one to a close. This was awesome. Oh, yeah, 9:55. Mr. Iafredi is gonna be coming back here soon.
Soon enough.
Yep. But all right, you guys, for Woodward Pistons podcast, my name is Brandon Dent, Detroit Kool-Aid, and we're going to get this drum roll going for Detroit News Rod Beard. Hey, yo, shout out to the legend. As always, this was awesome, man. Thank you for being here, brother.
Anytime. We'll see you next time.
Till next time, you all.